Yeah!
Go for it.
Hey, welcome. We're back with a follow-up video regarding the MCX, because we've had a lot of questions about the Spirit LT lately, and a lot of these questions are directly related to the Rattler as well from the past. So
Mhm.
with this video, we're hoping to be able to touch on just the whole APFG MCX platform on its own. What are
Mhm.
some of the problems? Because they have very similar problems. And what are some of the solutions we've found to actually running these guns long term, gaming them, making sure they
Mhm.
work, right? Yeah. So,
Mhm.
in general. So I
Mhm.
think one of the big things most people, we should,
Receiver
yeah, like
material.
we should talk about like the problems first. Let's put it that
The
way, right?
problems that's
Yeah.
pretty obvious. Like the lower receiver, to be
hmm
specific. This is what most people are having problems with or
Well,
worried about.
Well,
What they're most
in
worried
terms of
about.
cracking, but I think the most prolific problem that's the most in like the spotlight would be the fact that
Mhm.
the hop-up chamber, the threads on it are kind of shit. They break a lot.
Pop-up chamber. Yeah, the material and it's just too thin. So when you extend out the barrel with like or a heavy ass suppressor, you bump it into a wall or something, you might just end up cracking the threads on the pop-up chamber.
I
That's
don't.
something that happens. Or even like during shipping, I think I've seen a few break just from
Yep,
shipping, right?
yep. That's what I was gonna say. I don't really think it's only due to the fact that people are bumping into it with a suppressor or something like that.
Mm-hmm,
In the
mm-hmm.
Rattler's case, which most of these I guess like user experience reports are gonna be coming from.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of guys aren't accounting for the fact that that gun has a steel outer barrel as well. So it's gonna exert a lot more force on those very weak threads,
Correct,
right? Yeah.
correct. It's steel, heavy steel on just a zinc hop-up chamber, so
hmm
one something has to give.
Yeah, so that's a major problem. That's a major concern. I think the other thing with the hop-up chamber would be the fact that it actually isn't very consistent from the factory. Or a lot of
Chamber
people seem to think so,
consistent.
performance-wise, right?
Performance. Yeah, some people think it's bad, but personally, from my experience running the Rattler, I think I'm getting pretty reliable performance out of it. I've changed my bucking and barrel. I've never ran it bone stock, but with like a different bucking and barrel, I think the gun shoots pretty good. Like out to 30 to 40 meters, I think I'm hitting my target like maybe at least 7 out of 10, at least like a hand size target easily. So
Well,
I don't know.
I personally have
I don't
ran
have
the setup like stock and with like minor mods.
that.
I've tried it with a bucking and then I tried it with a bucking and a barrel. I
Mhm.
personally don't use a bucking that is, I don't use a barrel that actually extends out into the suppressor or anything. It's pretty much flush with the muzzle device on my gun. But I would say out to like roughly 100, you could still group with this gun like reasonably.
100. How much is that in meters?
100 feet. I don't know. You're gonna have to look it up.
Okay.
But in general, this is not like a field gun. Like it's not like some of our other guns where you're going
The
out to like
CQB gun.
yeah,
Rattler.
like you're
Okay.
not
So,
going out to 200 and like reliably hitting things with it.
all
I don't
right.
think so at least.
100 feet is around 30 meters approximately. So,
Sure.
like I said, I'm hitting a hand size target at 30 to 40 meters. No problem.
Yeah.
7 out of 10.
Yeah. So we're
So,
noticing some of the same things, I guess, through our use,
mhm,
right? Yeah. Um,
yeah.
But like the thing is like a lot of people run these guns, especially these like CQB like short guns for CQB, right? Like
hmm
indoor, yeah.
hmm
So I think the biggest problem with this is I don't know if you noticed, but with VSC guns as of late, they've been very aggressive with the way the hop up works. Like the MPX is one example where it just sends everything
Well,
to the
that
moon,
one is
right?
just way too aggressive. Just the arm itself, it's pressing too hard onto the
Yeah,
bucking. I
yeah.
think. I think that's just one thing. But yeah, it's just tuned for like for heavier BBs, and a lot of people would just file the hop up arm a little bit so it doesn't press so hard onto the bucking. That's
Yeah,
a
but
common.
when you're filing it and you don't do that consistently and it's kind of lopsided, it's gonna fuck the thing up, right? Like that's sort of the problem that people
Yeah,
have with
well,
it.
I guess
Yeah.
you got to be really careful with it, and if you think
hmm
you're retarded with a Dremel or a file, just don't do it yourself.
It's possible, but regardless of which, some of the other problems that we've experienced with the gun or seen, from what people say, would be poor magazine well compatibility. That's one of the things that a lot of people talk about. Like this gun basically doesn't work out of the box with anything but stang eggs, right?
which I think is incorrect. Well, it is out of the box, but you can easily just shave down those two point tips on top of the V mags, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
fit just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It'll drop free.
Again, like I said, we'll get to some of these fixes in a bit after, right? But just
Mhm.
to run through the problems
Out of the
first,
box, no,
that
it
is
does. It
generally
does not
what
fit.
people think. Yeah. I
Mhm.
would say VMags are okay, but the 416 mag, absolutely not. Not on the stock
Absolutely
receiver.
not. No, it
Yeah.
just doesn't go in
And
at all.
I think this is one of the things that you noticed originally when we got the Rattlers last year, I think, when it came out.
Hmm.
The front wall of the
23.
magazine well, in between the two front pin lugs, is
Yeah,
extremely thin. Like, it is
extremely
literally
thin.
paper thin. Literally paper thin. Yeah, yeah, if you
Let
got it
you guys.
there, yeah. Like, you could cut your finger on this if you run your finger across a bit. Like, it's
Yeah,
actually
I've
quite
already
sharp.
lost some material here because it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you see, there's that little
Yep.
breakage over there already. Yeah,
And
because it's really paper thin.
as we were alluding to, another problem with the lower receiver is the fact that it is extremely poor in quality regarding the way it's casted. And
Hmm.
this OEM, generally does cast lower receivers on their lower end guns, right? Well,
Hmm.
let's not even say that because some of their premium models share the
Most
same
of
low
them, most of
receivers.
them
Yeah,
are. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that is a
Average,
problem.
unless you get a CNC gun, and that's like at least double or triple the price of a standard cast gun.
Well, you're adding on to it, and that's not even regularly available. I would say
Like
outside Taiwan, a lot of people don't even know about them.
this guy, this is a what they call a forging series 416.
Except
That
it's
is
not
a
forged.
6061 CNC. It's not forged. They
Except it's
call it
not
that, but
forged.
it's
Yeah.
not forged. It's just CNC 6061 T6 CN. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
oh.
So either ways, that is kind of an area of concern. I would say the bigger problem with the lower receiver would be the fact that there have been some reports. I'm not gonna say that many of people cracking along the rear takedown pin. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Around
So
here.
yeah, I think it's the top portion of it as well, like that people are cracking. That you would start seeing a microfracture on the inside, and it becomes real apparent because like that's usually you just see it. Like what can I tell you? You
Hmm.
just see it. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's been some reports of that. We think it has something to do with the buffer. To be real with you guys. And
Yeah, because the Rattler
I
comes
think
with a
the
really hard
OEM
plastic.
also see that as well because they've swapped to a different buffer design for the
Hmm.
APFG Legacy MCX as well as the Spear LT now. One that actually buffers something, like it absorbs energy.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, I would say, yeah, that's pretty much the problems with the lower receiver. If we're talking about the upper receiver, there's still also problems. Surprise, surprise. One of them would be the fact that the auto trip bar screws keep loosening and falling out. And again, we've heard of isolated incidents where it's caused a bigger problem overall, but in general, I really don't think there's too many people screwing them up. Like I've talked to almost everybody we sold one of these guns to. I've talked to a lot of other people we had nothing to do with, but also own these guns. A lot of people were like unaware that their screw was loose inside.
Yeah, because unless you
Yeah,
take it apart and you drop the screw,
right.
it's just going to be held in place
Yeah,
because all it has to do is just secure the auto chip bar and not have it like just drop out of
right.
position, and
Didn't you say you know
that's
a
all it
guy
has.
who was saying that it dropped out a little bit and mangled his auto trip bar? Like,
Yes, I know a
yeah,
guy that had that issue happen to him. It just
right.
mangled because yeah, he lost that screw and he didn't notice, put the gun back together
Yeah.
and
So the screw is
from
probably
shooting.
like crooked or something like that sitting in there, and then like he cycled it and probably something happened. Yeah. Hard to say, yeah. But that screw itself can't fall out if the gun is closed. The real danger really lies in the fact that you're unaware it's gonna fall out, and you open your gun and something
Mm-hmm.
happens, right? Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I wish that was the only problem with the upper, but there's quite a few issues with the bolt group as well. I think ever since that OEM switched over to a screw instead of an E-clip for their nozzle retaining spring plugs, that's
Hmm.
caused some people some problems too. I think with
Especially
Kevin.
on the MPX, but on the MCX, they kind of fixed that. There's like a shit ton of Loctite there now.
Yeah, but again, like I don't think Kevin's ever taken his gun apart, the bulk carrier group at least, and
That's
it's
on
gotten
the
worse
MCX
somehow.
or MPX?
That was his MCX, yeah, because he brought it into the shop for me to take a look at, and
Okay, yeah, that
had to
screw
sort
gets
out.
getting loose and it just
Yeah,
just goes
and
in.
the issue was just it needed to be Loctited back, and everything was fine after. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think like aside from that, the only other issue I would bring up with the Rattler would be it has handguard wobble. My gun has it. I believe you told me
Hmm.
earlier your gun doesn't have it.
The Rattler.
Yeah, because I
Let's
have
see.
I do have some handguard wobble on mine, but there is a way to fix it, and this is pretty solid now.
Well, there's a
Yeah.
little bit side to side, little bit, but
There is
no,
zero on mine.
no up and down, just a little bit of
Yeah.
side to side.
There's a way
Like
to
you.
solve it. There's a way to solve it, and we will tell you guys how later. Yeah.
Mhm.
It might not be the best idea, but it works, and I've tested this out already too a little. So aside from that, I think the rest of the issues that we want to bring up really have more to do with the Spear LT, and that would
Mhm.
be some of we're assuming cost cutting issues at play here, right? Like
Mhm.
the fact that the gun doesn't have an end pass is kind of shitty. To be real with you guys, that valve inside and the nozzle is really exactly the same. It's not an expensive part. Like
It's not.
we have no
It's
idea
literally
why it
just
would be omitted. Yeah,
one grub screw. That's all.
yeah.
Just one grub screw.
So we don't really understand the reasoning behind that. We also know
Or
that
complaining
the
about inconsistency, and some people even ending up shooting the grub screw, and some morons would like just over tighten the grub screw or
that's the only
just
reason
undo
how. Yeah,
it.
that's the only
Yeah,
reason how. I've
that's
done that before on
yeah.
my first gun, my 416. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think I was in a
Yeah.
game and I was shooting at someone and the grub screw just came out of the front and like I shot him with it, which was pretty interesting. Um, but yeah, like aside from that, like we've talked about this before, the world doesn't revolve around Canada. Most places want lower FPS, not high
Hmm.
FPS. So
Hmm.
I understand, like there is some reasoning in shortening the barrel, but I still think the motivation is probably cost cutting. To be real with you, nobody
Most
wants
likely,
that,
because
right? Like,
it's the easiest way to
yeah.
achieve a low FPS
Hmm.
without like putting it en pass. It's like you can achieve it by saving costs instead of like throwing more and more stuff in there. So I guess that's what they decided to go with.
But funny enough, the gun itself, even with a short barrel, doesn't pass most CQB field limits, and without an end pass, there's dick all you can do about that. Then
You know what? At first, I thought it was interesting because I thought they would have just, since it's the same length as the Rattler, I thought they would have went with the Rattler inner barrel, but
Yeah.
instead they actually changed the barrel to this brass one. It's the exact same length as the Rattler one, but however, it's like a completely different
I think the
barrel.
Rattler,
So,
I think those black ones are just coated. I don't really know what material they actually are.
oh no, the weight wise is completely different. This is
Oh, okay.
aluminum.
Oh,
It's
okay.
aluminum,
I see.
and this is brass. Clearly, well, like
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
your
have
typical
eyes.
brass.
I have eyes.
You have eyes. We all have eyes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, um, I guess that's all the problems that we were able to make a list of earlier when we really thought about how it was gaming and running the Rattler and owning it for the past year. Um,
Mhm.
are there other issues that other people might have with a gun? Yeah, like I've heard of other things. Like some people might get mad at certain things, like like the finish on the gun doesn't look right, or like some parts of it look kind of rough. This video is really from our perspective, like so
Yeah. Right as right now, this has just been announced. So
what? Yeah, I heard you keep sending me all these messages and my phone's going blowing up, man.
okay, it's the 11-inch.
Great, yeah. Well, we knew that was happening for a bit now. I guess the cat's out of the bag. We could talk about it, yeah. But that's not the purpose of this
Yeah.
video.
Yeah. It's not. It's
Yeah,
just saying it's there.
right. So, general experience gaming this gun. What has it been for you so far?
Gaming it, it's
Yeah.
been pretty reliable. The only thing is sometimes the bolt will lock back with rounds in the magazine,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one
Yeah.
like a little bit unreliable is that it will lock
Yeah.
back in.
That's got me killed before. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's on
yeah,
two
like
occasions I can remember very
but
vividly.
usually it locks back on with like maybe
Yeah.
one or two in the magazine
No,
and not
mine's
like
locked back with like half a mag before. So
yes,
it's
it happened
yeah.
to me.
But I think both of our guns, it's broken in before where that wasn't an issue, right? So
Hmm.
yeah. Funny enough, I would say owning this gun or how it works from a gameplay point of view or performance point of view is a lot like any of other VSC ARs. Also made by this OEM, let's say. Um, I would say that you're not really going to be getting anything too weird. There are some part incompatibilities. We haven't put a VFC AR nozzle into this gun yet, but we believe it will fit with some minor mods. So,
Minor, yes.
yeah, other than that, like, I don't doubt if you put a super long fucking ass, like, inner barrel in this gun, maybe extend it out to the length of the suppressor, it'll achieve the same kind of performance as, like, any of the 11.5 SBRs or anything like that.
Easily.
Yeah, there's nothing really inherently wrong with the performance of this gun, and the hop up, despite having some quirks, is actually really effective, to be real with you. It
I think
overhops.
so.
Yeah.
It overhops, so
Yeah, and the
yeah.
adjustment's okay. It seems to hold zero when it comes to like how the hop up is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight adjustment system, so I
Hmm.
strongly doubt anyone's gonna just unthread it by shooting. It's not like your regular guide hop, because guide hop quite often like people would just it'll just unthread itself and just loosen, and you gotta kind of readjust the hop up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not on
So
this thing.
like the purpose of this video also is to act as sort of a guide regarding so what should you do to make the gun not this way. Like I don't want to deal with this shit. I just want the gun to be reliable. I bought a thing for almost $1,000. I want it to work, right?
Hmm.
So, we really decided to go tip to butt regarding this gun, regarding all the stuff that we've had to do to make it stop annoying us, and so we could just shoot the gun, right? One of the main things, like starting from the front, I would say, would be the hop up. So, I
Yes.
personally don't think you should replace the chamber in this gun until it breaks. And if it arrives broken, well, I don't know, man. You're just getting shit on. What can I tell you? Like,
Yeah, then just go ahead.
yeah,
The
like it's
JWI.
bad luck.
Probably
It's just
another
bad luck. Yeah.
yeah,
So the only product that's a replacement on the market is, like you mentioned, the JWI.
JWI.
Yeah,
Yes.
which you don't fucking have one, but I did. I do. I preemptively took it out of my gun because I wanted to try the chamber out, and I would
Same
say that,
fucking thing with
yeah, yeah,
shotgun material. It's just
yeah.
CNC. It's the same chamber. It
Well,
doesn't even come with arm or anything.
well,
You're
I
still using the original parts.
it's like very pseudoscience to tell you this, but I feel like the gun has better air sealing after I put it in. Barely noticeable, right? Like it's just like there's gonna be some small differences. Otherwise, it works the same. I'm not saying like this
Fine.
is an
Yeah.
upgrade in the sense that, of performance wise.
Of accuracy or performance.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
that's
just
really gonna
from
boil down to your bucking and barrel, right? Like, and that's
yes,
whatever
yes.
the fuck you believe in. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
dare to tell people what the fuck they want to believe in regarding that. Like, everyone has
Yeah,
their
and you
opinion.
just everyone has their own preferences.
Yeah.
I personally go with modify
Hmm.
for bucking choice. So
Right,
everyone has
and
their own
I think
preferences.
just unicorn front and back, that's already enough. Like, I'm not too anal
Hmm.
about things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But, that said, like, you've been running the stock chamber for a bit. I ran it a couple of times, and after I had the bucking and the inner barrel inside, it seemed to be okay. Like,
Pretty good.
yeah. Like, I was playing field games with it. I was running very heavy ammo in this, like, .40s. Maybe not very
Hmm.
heavy, but heavy enough. And, yeah, it seemed to work really well. I was able to like this gun shoots really far just out of the box already. Like I think when I
Hmm.
was shooting it at the range, like it was going past 200 feet, which
Mm-hmm.
is like
Mm-hmm.
pretty crazy. Yeah, like
On point 36 or
point
point fours?
forties. Yeah,
Point
like you
fours.
get
Okay.
out there, and I dialed the FPS down really too because I didn't want to like get sued that day, right?
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, but like it's just that said, this gun really doesn't have any issues there, if you ask me.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, to go down like this list of like the most severe problems, let's say, what would one do about like if they're worried about like the receiver breaking? Like on the Spear LT with like all those fucking bubbles in the casting of the receiver, there might not be a whole lot you could do with that with the stock setup. Our recommendation, and this is how we recommend the guns be sold, like we actually package these things together, would be to get the black Pew CNC receiver, right?
Well, that thing is
It's very
good.
nice. Yeah.
Really,
The
very
fitment's
nice.
amazing. Like we might do a video on it later on, but I have one installed on my Rattler over here, and
One on my Rattler and my Spear LT. So
yep.
yeah, bring this up for you guys. Oh, and it comes with freights.
How's the fitment on it?
Fitment is great. There's
Yeah.
no up down wobble,
Mm-hmm.
but there
No
was a
wobble
little bit of
whatsoever as
side to
well.
side wobble, but
Yeah.
you can see on mine there's like literally no wobble.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll get into
Like,
that too. That has something to do with the spacing of the front lugs, right?
hmm
Yeah. So, that said, ooh, I almost dropped my gun. That said, I think like if you're stuck with a stock low receiver, or you just opt to not spend another couple $100 on this gun,
hmm
what can you really do to prevent the rear pin from cracking and breaking? Well, there's a lot of solutions on the market. We think it has mostly to do with the solid plastic buffer that the Rattler comes with, and
hmm
it's essentially just acting as a hammer as the bolt hits it. Like, and that's probably why these things are breaking. Talking
hmm
to the OEM and their service center, I know I'm doing this a lot, but we all know who we're talking about here.
hmm
Um, there's a lot of solutions to fix that. Like, to be real with you guys, like I literally just went to the hardware store and came up with a solution for this. A lot of the aftermarket buffers are from other companies, or brands out there, I guess you could say. There's a lot of no,
Overkill.
yeah, there's a lot of no-name ones, and there's guys like Black Variable, shout out to that dude, who's come up with a solution for that. Anything is probably better than stock in this
Anything
situation.
is better than stock. Anything is better than
Yeah.
stock. But we think a rubber buffer will
hmm
be sufficient.
Like, I went to the hardware store and I literally went with like those rubber table feet, and then I spaced it out a little bit so it sits a little bit further out over here, so it's not so close to the rear edge of the receiver. Because the bolt goes all the way back here. If it hits the rear, like the bridge of the lower receiver, you're still gonna damage it, even with a CNC one, right?
hmm
So I
hmm
feel like putting I used basically a washer for a faucet, like your sink in your bathroom, and I
hmm
spaced it out a little bit, and the result of this is it's short stroked the gun a little bit, and it's actually ended up being a little bit better in cold weather performance. And if rate of fire is your kind of, yeah, it shoots really fast. But if rate of
hmm
fire is also a thing that you like you want a gun that shoots really quickly, this also has like the added effect of that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. More efficient
yeah,
and shoots faster.
yeah.
Good.
It's not rocket science. I mean, a lot of real guns use like polyurethane or soft plastic buffers, and they work just fine. MP5, Ingram submachine guns. There's more than I can't count. Like almost any type of blowback firearm. Yeah. So that's not a huge problem. And to be real with you guys, we really haven't heard of too many people breaking their lower receiver or cracking them. I think out of all the
Mhm.
people we sold Rattlers to, no, that's never happened to anyone. And
No,
everyone's been gaming these guns like pretty
hmm
frequently for
I've
some
been
of them.
I've been running my gun pretty hard. No, it hasn't broken yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think the front pin and the wobble and handguard wobble, that's also another problem with the gun that needs a fix.
hmm hmm
I think you have more experience fixing that lately.
Yes, I do. Okay. So basically, what I would recommend is those two clamps that clamp down the hop up chamber, those two little screws there. Um, if you guys have taken your hop up chamber apart before, you would know what I'm talking about. Like you can screw those down pretty tight, and the piece that holds the handguard would just completely stop moving. Like it's just clamped down so fucking hard. So basically, that tells you something. You're pinching down on the receiver so hard that it's like basically fucking with the tolerances and stuff. So what I did is just slightly loosen it, don't over torque it. And since the handguard is applying like clamping force onto it anyway, it's not going anywhere. And you got a pivot pin over here. So all you have to do is just loosen it, and it'll just widen up like just by that tiny little bit, and it will just eliminate or reduce side wobble.
That's what we found out too. So as you can see on the camera over here, like here, let me get into the shot. Uh, like there's a gap over here in between for the handguard lug, right? It might be easier to see on your gun because FDE versus black, right? But
hmm
yeah, like if those two screws are over torqued down, it's actually pinching these two tabs like down, right?
hmm
That's kind of the problem.
hmm
Yeah. So
And then it's
that's
like not
causing the
wide.
receiver to be out of spec, and it's causing wobble in the upper receiver.
Yeah, like
Uh,
you can see here, there's
yeah,
like almost no wobble. Like
Yeah,
I would not say like none, but you have to have some. Anything mechanical, you want it to pivot, you have to have like at least some,
it's gonna
some.
happen anyways as you use the
Yes.
gun, yeah, when it wears down, yeah. So the
Hmm.
only thing I really want to add to that is, like, that's a really easy fix, to be real with you. I had a handguard wobble on this gun. You know, I'm using an artisan canebrake kit, so it might not fit, like, one-to-one, like, you know, OEM, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that wobble in this gun, like, I got rid of by just, like, backing out those two screws you were talking about a little bit. So this
Hmm.
might not be the most ideal way to do it, but they're kind of like rubbing up against the inside wall of my handguard now. But
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, as a result of that, there's like some tension on it, and it stopped
Hmm.
wobbling. And I've been to 2 game days with this gun now. Probably the roughest you're gonna put like something like this through, right? Doing an actual game day with it, and it's
Hmm.
been okay so
Running.
far. Yeah, like this is really solid still, no problem. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
pretty good.
weird. Yeah. So like that's one way you can get rid of another fucking annoying problem with these guns.
Hmm.
Um, as for the magazine well compatibility.
Magazine. Well, I have a black pew on here,
Yeah.
but I've noticed out of the box it can take 416 magazines. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but with a black pew, it just takes anything. Like I'll show you right here. This is the 416 magazine. It just goes in there, no problem.
Here is a
And
VMAG, and this is a black pew as well. Drops free. Here is a 416 magazine.
yeah,
Drops
it just
free.
works.
Stagnag drops free even on the regular one. Yeah.
I don't even need a test on that because it
No,
just
no.
works.
Well, yeah, but my point being is it's unreasonable for like them to assume that you have to go with this upgrade. Do
Yeah.
it because
Okay.
it's
This.
do it because it's better. Don't do it because like you
Okay.
want to fix their problems, right?
This is the stock Rattler receiver,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a 416 mag. It just straight up doesn't go in there,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
out of the
Those
boxes.
two
But
these two things on the back here stop it from going in. That's why.
this is the Spear LT stock receiver. So even if you don't get the black pew, it it's a little tight, but as you can
Yeah,
see, it does go in.
probably
Like it
wear in.
does go
Yeah,
in, no problem. Like
probably
it
wearing.
didn't even have to wear in; it just goes in. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little tight, but it just goes in.
Mm-hmm.
So
We have noticed
that's
some
that.
actual changes, like in our previous video, right? Like they actually
Yeah,
did something there. Yeah, I agree.
but yeah, on a CNC black pew, not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes in. Like
Yeah,
on the Rattler and on the Spear LT. This is my Rattler, and same thing.
right.
It just goes straight in.
Yep. So
No
I
problem.
don't know about you. I might know like one dude who decided to heavily invest in HK416 magazines. Most
You
people have
do? I don't.
VMAGs. Yeah, I know one guy like that.
Yeah, I know one
Yeah, I
guy.
know one
One
guy
guy.
like
Yeah,
that. I don't know
we
why.
both know one
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So that's
Might be
two
the same
guys.
guy. Might be the same guy. But
No, it's not the same. I
okay,
don't think it's the
okay,
same.
possibly. But you know, most people have these, right? The
Mm-hmm.
VMAX. Yeah, most people
VMAX,
have these.
yes.
Yeah, and like,
Mm-hmm.
if you really want these to drop free in the stock receiver, your best bet would be just to file down these two little lugs on the top of the feed lip. And
Mm-hmm.
we found out that that actually, you know, that solves it.
Fixed it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Before the Black Pew receiver was a thing, that's what I
yeah, yeah.
did, and
Again,
I ran it with
I'm
VMAX.
trying to present this in a way where it's like you shouldn't have to buy the Black Pew to solve a lot of these other problems, right?
No, you don't have to.
No,
But
and
it
we feel
is
that's
a very
unreasonable.
expensive
Yeah,
solution. It's a
it
very
is.
expensive solution, but it is the solution that fixes like the lower cracking. Well, it
Mm-hmm.
might still crack if you're retarded with it, but
Mm-hmm.
still, it's definitely a great
Well,
improvement over.
anything can break if you beat the shit out of it. You're that fucking
Yeah,
retarded.
of
Yeah,
course, of
yeah.
course.
So, like in general, like if you're like me, I just ran the VMAGs on my gun when I had the standard lower. I really didn't give a
Mhm.
shit. They didn't drop free. You just rip them out of the gun and go on shooting the next guy you see, right? Like it really made no
Mhm.
difference in my opinion. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean aside from that, moving on, the auto trip bar. We've
That was
recently
the part.
investigated what that was about. Uh
Mhm.
so it really seems like once again, this OEM, they have like a couple of standards for screws
They're
and
just using the same screw.
yeah, like they just went with the same screw that they had on hand and they happen to
Yeah,
not you know, they happen
have it at
to
the right length.
yeah, like they happen to not go up like far enough in the receiver to really thread into that top shelf, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like throughout this video, we're probably gonna be pulling up some like pictures or something, hopefully to like illustrate our point. But so it's not really threading in all the way on that top shelf, and it's not really biting down on it, and the trip bar does impact the two screws on there.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we're thinking that like those impacts from it cycling every time are probably what's knocking it loose and eventually destroying the threads, right?
So on my Spear LT, what I did is I noticed from shooting it, the screws have undid itself, but there's still threads to lock onto. So basically, I have Loctited it from factory day one, and I'm gonna see what happens because I have a friend that has it, and he didn't Loctite nothing. He's been shooting it a lot, and there's like no threads left to
Mm-hmm.
screw into unless you use a longer screw. So we're gonna experience this further and see what happens. Like
Mm-hmm.
if Loctite will fix it from if you just Loctite it from day one or a longer screw. We'll let you guys know if this is actually a solution.
Well, I've went out of way with this, right? Like I showed you. I actually went with two longer screws. Had to cut them down because they were originally for a RMR. But
Mm.
it's just through experimentation where I found out the longer screw actually still tightens down and it locks
Mhm.
down,
There's
right?
still like a little bit of threads left, but wouldn't that be kind
Yeah.
of the same case as Loctiting it day one from factory? Because if the screw is loose and it's just like wobbling, it's just biting away all the threads. It's like just scraping it away over and over, like every fucking cycle, just
I think both
chewing,
I think
chewing
both
it
are
away.
I think both of the theories that we have may be true in this situation, and I don't know yet. Like it was like how I was telling you earlier. I fixed it the other day. I cut down the screws. I put it in there. I Loctited them. But I really haven't shot this gun all that much in the past couple of days, and I think we got put
Mhm.
like I don't know like
A lot of
a
rounds
couple
through it
hundred
too.
rounds through it before we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So I guess the best solution would probably be use a longer screw and Loctite it from day one. Day one.
that
Don't
seems
just
like it'd be
be
better for me.
don't get too
Yeah.
excited and start shooting this like right away.
Hmm.
Put the right size screw in there, Loctite the fuck out of it, and then start shooting. And
The
then
pro-
if it breaks, I don't know. Let us know. Let us know. We will love to have any feedback from you guys. Let us
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
that's
Let us know in the comments. Like,
yeah.
if
That
this
would
has
be great
happened to
because
you.
we
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
I actually went and surveyed a whole bunch of people that we know with these guns and people we know who didn't even buy the gun from us. And most people either got back to me and told me, yeah, those two screws are loose, or yeah, those two screws are loose, and I didn't even realize that was the case. So, as I
Mhm.
said earlier, it's not really a problem unless you swing the gun open and you're unaware and they fall out. Because with the way of where they sit up here, um, they just can't fall out or move around or just get away from you, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
because you're just
Yeah,
clamping it
like
down with
the lower
the lower.
receiver actually stops them from like dropping down and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it will
but
still unthread itself, so
yeah.
be careful.
But
Be
that's
careful.
still a major gotcha fuck you if like you open this gun and they just fall out, right? Like
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know. Like you could be at a game day, you could be doing something. Oh, something's up my gun. I'm gonna open it and take a look, right? It's kind of the whole
Yeah.
GPDR thing. Yeah,
You
like
could drop into your fire control group and cause a jam. Anything can happen
that's
in a
you're
game.
lucky already because you didn't lose it that way, right? You're already kind of lucky if that happens. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that really covers most of the issues with this gun. I haven't
I
heard
think
of
so.
any other
That's
issues with it. The one remaining thing would be the nozzle return spring screw, which I don't know what your opinion on that is. I'm not a fan of how this OEM changed over to that. I think I
the
prefer the
spring.
the
You
screw
prefer the
itself.
E-clip.
I prefer the
Oh,
E-clip, yeah. Like that's a pain in the ass to like fucking swap, but it's like infinitely more secure.
it is this guy.
Cover the logo.
Oh, yes.
Cover the
You
logo.
didn't
Nobody
see.
can
You
know.
didn't see shit.
Nobody can
It's
know.
not. It's no. It's not
Yeah,
them.
nobody can
Not
know.
them.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, like I like when we first covered the gun with the Rattler on IG, we kind of saw that like, hey, the dimensions on them are all like pretty much the same. The only difference is the fact that it's a different design, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah. So like, calm the fuck down. Like, but my point being is I haven't broken a nozzle yet, and you haven't broken a nozzle yet, so we don't know. But I've heard of other
No,
people
but
saying that
I've heard of people breaking
yeah.
it, but I think it could be the screw unscrewing itself and just causing a jam in there, and they didn't realize. And the gun is still cycling; it's just hitting it over and over. That's
I've
probably
heard I've
what's
heard of other
causing the
people
breakages.
swapping the M4 nozzle into this gun And like,
I've actually
yeah,
tried fitting a M4 nozzle into my Rattler boat carrier group. It
yeah,
actually goes in and it centers. Everything about it is like dimension wise, it fits
yeah.
properly.
But the plug in the
So
back
I'm
is different. The plug in the back is
just
different.
E-clip versus screw. So
Yeah.
basically, just
No,
redo
no,
it.
no.
Just
Like the
swap it
plug
over.
doesn't go through until you drill out the hole in the back, because the screw version has like flat sides.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. So you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
fucking, just like get in there with a drill, right? Like, yeah, like, exactly. Um, so that's an easy fix, and if you told me like, hey, you don't have to worry about this after, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of worth it. If I could get an RA tech in this thing or something, maybe even. I know some people aren't the biggest fans of those nozzles, but they've been pretty reliable for me.
We personally like them. We don't think there's any issues with it.
It
Some
served
people
me well
say
in my
it,
other
it
guns.
will undo itself or just just shake. It's inconsistent because of the magnet lock. But personally, I don't think that's a problem. I've been using it in a couple of my guns. I use it in my
Yep.
AK. I use it in my 416. It's been consistent. It's been pretty
You gotta be
good.
chronoing the gun quite a bit to find out if it's consistent, but for game day performance, it's worked very well for me thus far.
hmm
Yeah, and to be real with you, they're just effortless to adjust too. Like I just find I like the convenience of it. To be real with you guys.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't have to worry about
Hmm.
going too far either side because it's like a locking mechanism.
I agree. So yeah, to kind of like summarize everything we said, I personally don't think that this gun or like this whole ecosystem is bad as a gaming platform. It's
hmm
really gonna function a lot like any other VFC AR out there.
hmm
Yeah.
it base well you basically said it that it is what it is. It's just another BFCAR.
Hmm. But like any other gas blowback gun, it's gonna have a fuck ton of issues that you have to sort out. Um, I tell people this pretty often. Like, I don't own a single gun that I didn't have to fuck with. Like, they all have problems that where you have to like fuck with them to get them to work right. These are toys,
some
right? Like,
some more than others, and
yeah, some more than others.
one would even argue this is the fun in the hobby. Some people don't like it, then maybe a GBV is not for you. You
Hmm.
should start a different hobby, play Call of Duty or something.
Hmm. Yeah, that's well, you can do both, right? But
Yeah, you could do both, but if this is too much for you, then GBVs aren't for you.
possibly not. But I would say AEGs and HPAs have like other concerns too, right? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
It's just part of the game, man. It's part of the game. Unless you have like, take it to the tech. Take it to a tech. You got a friend that's a tech. You got a store that you're
Mhm.
really close to. You go there all the time. Have them repair your gun for you. Sure, it'll work.
I could say a lot of the stuff that you need to do to keep these kind of guns running are things that you can learn and do yourself, and that's kind of one of the goals we have with this YouTube channel, to just
That's what we
get out enough,
recommend.
yeah, like get out enough information out there where you guys can buy a couple of tools and do the shit yourself. Because like
hmm
we really believe that if you're gonna go out and run a gas blowback gun, take the disadvantage against like an HPA gun and AEG. You really should be self-sustaining. You really should know how to like dial out and troubleshoot your own gun and keep it running. Like if like being prepared and actually being functional and like having your stuff work, that's a parlous hobby. I'm pretty sure you guys don't like that friend that you have that goes out to a game day and he's not prepared. Like his gear is fucked up, his gun's fucked up, like this and that. Like nobody likes that.
And zero an
Yeah,
optic
that's not what
or
this hobby's
like
about, really. Yeah, like
no, you got to do a lot of that stuff yourself. Like
yeah,
you said, you can do it for a friend once or twice, but he's got to figure it out.
it just happens out there. Yeah, but to summarize it, bring it back on point a little bit about the MCX. This platform has served us well, pretty well. Served us well for a while now. It has its problems, but I feel like the aftermarket really did spring to action on this too. Like, there's a lot of parts coming out of Hong Kong, like the JWI chamber, the GSI hop arm out of Korea. Like I said, black variable with the
Black variable.
buffer, black pew with the
Mhm.
receiver. Yeah, like this gun
Mhm.
hasn't been out for all that long. Like this platform itself, right?
It's only been out
Yeah,
for a year
and we know
since
why
the
that
Rattler.
is, because everyone is like extremely like gay for MCXs right now. Like this is the gun to own, right? Like for the longest time.
Yeah, everyone wants this. Like even
Yeah.
when we're doing pre-orders, we don't have enough guns to sell. Like there just aren't enough of
Nope.
these for us to go
Hmm.
around. Yeah,
Yep.
very limited in quantity. So get
So
yours if you can.
Yeah.
We still highly recommend this gun to
Mhm.
anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that really encompasses all the major issues with this gun. You know, if you guys find out more problems with it, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah,
But
we'd love to hear. Let us know because this is
yeah,
pretty much all like a summary of what we've heard and what we
yeah.
actually
This
know
is
of.
our
Like,
opinion on it. Like, don't take this as like this is the end all be all to this
no,
platform. There's gonna
no,
be
no.
people out there,
There's plenty
yeah,
we
like
don't know.
well, there's also gonna be a lot of people out there who don't like other things about this gun, but you know, in general, these are the things that we thought was critical, and we decided that we should make a video about. That's about it. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so just to wrap it up, that's it for this gun from us. We probably will have more content regarding this in the future because these are just very popular guns. Like, that's the only way I can really put it. But aside from that, this has been our series going forward now, YNS Shop Talk. And we're hoping to do more of these, and we're hoping you guys come and watch them. Yep.
Yep.
Catch you
See you
guys
guys next
next time.
time.
Yep, catch you next time.
Peace.
See ya.